accomplice.
We just got the verdict in the second trial for the Crystal Rogers murder. It took the jury just nearly 4 hours, but Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson are found guilty on all of the charges. Brooks Houck specifically found guilty of murder, principal or accomplice, and guilty of tampering with physical evidence. His co-defendant Joseph Lawson found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. We just saw the family walk out of the courtroom. Everyone has been in tears. Now, the judge did ask for no outbursts, no cheers, or no booing, but you can feel the gasp when he read that guilty verdict out loud. And now we are all convening in the sidewalk where we see Crystal Rogers' family, many of them hugging each other for what has been a decade-long tragedy, mystery for them that they finally get just a slither of justice from, now that the prime suspect, who was also Crystal Rogers' ex-boyfriend, has been found guilty of murder in connection to her 2015 disappearance. Now, while many of the family members are now outside of the courtroom, jurors are now heading right into the penalty phase of this trial. And before I walked out, I heard the judge ask Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson if they wish to give any opening statements. They quickly declined, so now I believe both sides are going to call up some witnesses to testify to try and convince jurors on what these two co-defendants' sentences should be, what they will recommend, but ultimately the judge will have that final say. But if you are just joining us, a decade-long tragedy now ends with two more men in the Crystal Rogers case, now being found guilty on all charges. As you can see right now, as I mentioned, the family is still in the hallway here. We've reached day 10 of this trial, and as I said in my previous live shot before this, while the jurors were deliberating, there was not one side who had one case or argument who was stronger than the other. So I think it was up in the air for what way this could go. But obviously it has went in the favor of the Rogers family, with them getting these guilty verdicts and now securing two more convictions. As we know, Steve Lawson was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence back in May. And one thing that is a question that I'm hoping we can get some answers to, maybe even from the prosecutors, is will this open the door for other unsolved murders that many believe are connected to Rogers' disappearance in Bardstown? We know that her father, Tommy Ballard, was killed about a year after her. Before him, there was Officer Jason Ellis, who was shot and killed in 2013. And those cases still remain unsolved, but there have been little inklings in this case and even in these two trials that there has been some connection to Rogers' disappearance. And so it'll be interesting to see if these convictions will open that door for more justice in solving these Bardstown mysteries and these murders in that town. But right now it seems that there are tears and there are hugs. We have a guilty verdict. Again, Brooks Houck found guilty of murder, principal, or accomplice, which pretty much means that the jury did not feel the evidence could pinpoint to what his role was in her disappearance, but they know he was involved in some capacity, as the prosecutors tried to show them that he was the last person seen with her at Houck Family Farm, and just so many coincidences in this case. And again, Joseph Lawson found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. Again, if you're just joining us, it took jurors nearly 4 hours to come to this decision and this verdict. Longer time than it took in the Steve Lawson trial. It took just over 2 hours. But yes, now we are in the penalty phase. Not sure how much longer that will go or who they've called to the stand right now. We do have WOKY reporter Madison Elliott sitting inside taking those notes, but this is all of Crystal Rogers' family in the hallway right now. I heard their reaction. I was sitting behind the Houck family who was in the courtroom, so I wasn't able to see what their reaction was or even what Brooks Houck or Joseph Lawson's reactions were. Obviously, they were, one of them, Houck was standing up. We know that Lawson is paralyzed, so he obviously was sitting in his wheelchair, to see just how they're reacting to this news, because their defense attorneys were very clear that they were 100% innocent in this and that they were not guilty, and the only witness in this case was the cell phone data. But obviously it was enough from the prosecution side that jurors were able to come to this verdict. And right now, that is lead detective Jonathan Snow. Look like he's hugging one of the members of the Rogers family. You can see he is visibly emotional. He has been on this case since the very beginning, walking past us just right now. Apparently you can see that it's a long time coming for all of them. Tears rolling down his face as the guilty verdict has just been read in this case. Again, penalty phase is currently underway as guilty verdicts are read for Brooks Houck, the prime suspect in the 2015 disappearance of his ex-girlfriend and mother of 5, Crystal Rogers, as well as co-defendant Steve Lawson. Steve Lawson was found guilty. He was convicted back in May. His son Joseph Lawson was just found guilty alongside Brooks Houck of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. As you can see, it's just a bit of a chaotic, but we're trying to control the chaos here in the situation because this is a very narrow hallway and floor that we're on here in Bowling Green. Family members of Crystal Rogers still waiting outside the courtroom as the penalty phase is underway after the guilty verdicts were just read inside the courtroom. Again, just an emotional day. I think everyone has been just sitting on pins and needles for what this turnout would be. Both sides, again, presented arguments. I can't say one was stronger than the other, so it was really a toss-up on what this will be. But again, if you're just joining us, there has been not one, but 2 guilty verdicts reached in the Crystal Rogers second trial, where Brooks Houck, the prime suspect, has just been found guilty of murder, and his co-defendant, Joseph Lawson, found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. And obviously, we're going to keep you all updated with the latest on this penalty phase and what just comes from the rest of this day. I'll be honest, I was not expecting to get a verdict. I was not expecting to get a verdict this soon, but we did. And now the day will hopefully wrap up with the penalty phase and the jury going to deliberate what the recommendation will be for Houck and Lawson. Now, Steve Lawson, they recommended 17 years, and his formal sentencing is set for August. So it'll be interesting to see what they recommend for Houck and his son, Joseph Lawson. Again, more tears and hugs as what has been a decade-long mystery in Bardstown now has resulted in 3 men being charged for their involvement in the 2015 disappearance of Crystal Rogers. And I'm not sure if you can see him at this moment, but Nelson County Sheriff Raymond Penaroa has been in the courtroom with us every day. It's been 10 days of explosive testimony, nearly 50 witnesses, many claims and theories, evidence and facts, all coming down to this guilty verdict. If you have been watching our coverage up until this point, it's a moment I think we've all been waiting for, not really knowing which way or another it was going to go. But you can see the Rogers family holding each other, because for them, and we'll talk to them to hopefully, to see how they're feeling, but I just get the feel that some kind of weight has been lifted off of their shoulder now that the people involved in Rogers' vanishing have been brought not just to light, but have been found guilty. Again, WOKY reporter Madison Elliott is inside the courtroom as the penalty phase is underway, where we're hearing both sides call witnesses to the stand to try and convince jurors what the sentencing should be and how long these men will spend in prison. Now, obviously, Brooks Houck is charged with the most severe charge, that is murder. But I do know that Lawson is facing at least up to 25 years in prison. As I mentioned, his father, the jury has recommended 17 years for him. and we will learn what his and Hauk's fate are after however long this penalty phase will last. As this goes on, we're hoping to hear not just from lead prosecutor Shane Young, who has also been on this case and was appointed to this case. We're hoping to hear from Lawson and Hauk's attorneys. He was represented, Hauk specifically, by Brian Butler and Steve Schwaring, and Lawson was represented by Kevin Coleman and Robert Bobby Boyd. Seeing how they feel with presenting their case and it obviously not resulting in their clients being acquitted. But obviously, court is still underway with the penalty phase. We will not be able to get that kind of reaction or hear from any of the attorneys on this case until this wraps. But if you are just joining us, Brooks Hauk has officially been found guilty in the murder of Crystal Rogers, as well as his co-defendant, Joseph Lawson, found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. Both men guilty on all counts. And WOKY reporter Madison Elliott actually just came out of the courtroom. Can you just give us a quick update of...
We only have one mic currently here,
so
we are closed right now. But what we were talking about is right now they're taking a 15-minute break because they are in deliberation, excuse me. They're taking a 15-minute break currently because Joseph Lawson's lawyers have a prepared statement before sentencing, and they would like to present that. Brooks Hauk's lawyers declined to give a prepared statement before sentencing, so they just wanted a few minutes before they come out and give that statement. So that is what we are waiting on right now. As I came out of the courtroom, people supporting Crystal Rogers and her family were hugging, crying outside of the courtroom. I was looking at Sherry Ballard as they said guilty on all charges, and she broke down in tears. It's a very emotional moment for everybody in that courtroom right now, and now we're just waiting for those prepared statements.
So at this time, they have not called any witnesses to the stand for the penalty phase for this testimony?
Correct. We are just waiting right now for the sentencing, and so we're standing by. We'll bring the very latest of what we learn and what happens next.
Absolutely.
So I'll leave it back to you guys as we continue to wait. I'm going to go back over to the courtroom because we'll be heading back.
Before you do head back, I want to ask Madison, because this is your first day inside the courtroom. The Hauk family sits right behind what is our media seat in that first row. Did you get any sense of what their reaction was when the guilty verdict was read? I was behind them, so I couldn't really see.
It was very quiet, and I also took a look at Brooks Hauk to see his reaction, and he stood there very stoic and silent, and there were no noises coming behind us. All the, I would say, tears I heard came from Crystal Rogers' side, but the defense side was quiet, as well as Joseph Lawson. I also looked at his reaction, and also very stoic, didn't show much reaction at all. So both men now waiting to hear their sentencing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, if you're just joining us, we just got guilty verdicts for Brooks Hauk, the prime suspect in the 2015 disappearance of Crystal Rogers, found guilty alongside his co-defendant, Joseph Lawson, found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, meaning he was allegedly not the one who killed her, but he was involved in some capacity, as well as both of the men found guilty of tampering with physical evidence. It looks like we are all heading back into the courtroom right now for the continuation of the penalty phase. Rogers' family is still in the hallway at this hour. But of course, we'll keep you updated both on air and online. Again, the day appears that it will wrap up sooner than we anticipate in getting this verdict in just 4 hours. And although it took longer than what Steve Lawson's verdict was, which that was just over 2 hours, I think because of the complexity of this case and the volume of evidence and the fact that it's no body and no witnesses, no weapon, and no actual crime scene, the worry was how much that would play into the jury's decision. But clearly prosecutors put on a stronger case in this sense, and jurors were able to be convinced that Brooks Hauk and Joseph Lawson were involved in the murder of Crystal Rogers. And again, it appears just people are heading back into the courtroom as the penalty phase is underway. Again, Houck charged with murder, principal or accomplice, which means that the jury was not able to pinpoint exactly what his role in Rogers' murder was, but they know he was involved in some capacity. And then Joseph Lawson being found guilty of conspiracy, meaning he conspired along with Houck and his father, Steve Lawson. And one of the main things of their task, we were told inside the courtroom, was to move Rogers' car to the Bluegrass Parkway, which was found at mile marker 14, just 2 days after she allegedly disappeared, and Houck was the last person prosecutors say she was with. Shane Young's words exactly were, Crystal Rogers left with Houck and did not reappear. Again, if you are just joining us, guilty verdicts have been reached in the Crystal Rogers trial, the second trial. Both defendants found guilty on all counts in this case, and the penalty phase of this trial on day 10 is underway, where witnesses will be called to hear testimony from both sides so that they can recommend what the sentences will be for both of these men. Hallway is now clear. It appears everyone is back inside the courtroom, including WLKY reporter Madison Elliott, who is sitting in to hear what the testimony will be as far as the jury being able to recommend how long these men will receive in prison.
Well as Brooks Houck, guilty of murder and guilty of tampering with evidence. So in the murder case of Crystal Rogers, again, guilty on all fronts for Joseph Lawson and Brooks Houck.
Okay.
I also want to
Shaquille,
remind our viewers that last month there was...
And you've just been listening in to our Alexis Matthews, who's been following this case. In case you're just now joining us, Joseph Lawson, Brooks Houck, found guilty, I should say, on all counts related to the 2015 disappearance of Crystal Rogers. Now, Alexis, we know you've been covering this since the very beginning. Once this was read, kind of talk us through what the mood has been there, especially I know the family of Crystal Rogers, they have been showing up all the time, every single day. Obviously, this is the second trial related to her 2015 disappearance. Talk to us about the mood.
Shaq, as expected, the Rogers family has not missed a day, not only in what has become a 10-day trial for this, but the 4-day trial for Steve Lawson, who was the first person convicted in connection to Crystal Rogers' case. But the mood inside of the courtroom, from my vantage point, was just a big gasp. Now, I will say that the judge made it very clear that he did not want any outbursts when a verdict was read, because what he said, what kind of happens is that jurors may feel, depending on whatever the verdict is, that they did something wrong, no matter which way that it went. And he did not want that, because obviously they're just doing the due diligence, you know, and their civic duty. But from the Rogers side of the courtroom, I definitely heard the gasp. You heard the sniffles as if people were crying and sobbing for what, as we all keep saying, feels like justice delayed but not denied for this family after, you know, Rogers just vanished back in 2015. Now, as far as the Houck side of the room, which is what me and Madison were talking about, I could not see because I was sitting behind the Houck family as well as sitting behind the defendants, but I just did not see any reaction, which is, you know, what the judge wanted, but it failed me from being able to see, you know, kind of how they're feeling about this decision. I mean, Houck was just found guilty of murder, and co-defendant Joseph Lawson, which I'm not sure if any of his family members are in court, but he too being found guilty. But just an overall feeling of a weight being lifted from the Rogers side, and I can't say one way or the other how the Houck family is feeling right now, Shaq.
Yeah, just a recap for those who are just joining us right now. Brooks Houck, the main suspect, the prime suspect into this case since 2015, found guilty of murder in relation to the Crystal Rogers investigation. His co-defendant, Joseph Lawson, found guilty on a conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with evidence. This has been something that folks have been following for quite some time, especially in the city of Bardstown. Brooks Houck, the ex-boyfriend of Crystal Rogers, and you see the charges right there on your screen. Joseph Lawson found guilty conspiracy to commit murder, guilty on tampering with physical evidence. This is certainly developing. This is something that we'll continue to follow and, of course, have reaction. We'll wrap up right now, and we'll, of course, have the very latest right here at 5, right on WLKY.